Oh, yes. Oh, I do wish. Let's see. That. All right. I think I've got the banner correct for that super secret thing that we're going to post up. So hopefully that'll be good. Thanks. Ooh, 13 comments. Hi. Hi, critters. I love it. Good day. Wait, so if somebody says good day, are they Australian or are they Canadian? Greetings from France, Vermont. I love this. Hi out there. Florida. Oh, I used to live in Florida so many years. Oh, that's you, Rita. Yeah, hi. Vermont. Did I say that already? Texas. There's no cover charge for the music, but there's a 2-drink minimum. Also a 3-drink maximum, because if you're going to be drinking, you're out of here. What's the phrase, Gareth? Write drunk, edit sober. Right? Isn't that a saying?
Correct, yeah.
So we're editing, so we got to keep it. All right. So fantastic. I'm going to put the two of us up. Hi, everybody. How are you? And wait for the audience to come back. Hi, Texas, South Georgia. Oh, I'm in North Georgia. I'm in just north of Atlanta, Western Mass, Washington, Saratoga Springs. Oh, fantastic. Yay. Canuck, don't you know? Okay, so that was a Canadian from before. Fantastic. Give me just a moment to switch my screen over and we will get started. Animation window, this one. Aha, yes. What you're all here for, Deep Dive Live. So exciting. So Beth from AutoCrit, hi. I have with me Gareth from AutoCrit as well. Say hi, Gareth.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Gareth is having some technical difficulties with his camera. So ironically, for the showing versus telling, we will not be showing Gareth. I think that's funny. Come on, that's irony, right? That's a thing. So I know you don't have to say it, Gareth. I can feel your disappointment from here.
Well, I will be showing my screen doing Kevin's bit. So
okay, fantastic. Well, that is wonderful. Welcome to this week's episode of Deep Dive Live. The idea, as you guys know, is to take one of our AutoCrit reports each week, really dig into the details of how you use it and how you can interpret the advice that AutoCrit is giving you and really get even more value for your dollar with your AutoCrit subscription. So we'll talk about why that information is important and show you in real time how to use the platform to apply those suggestions or not, because you're in control. This is still your story, still your creativity at work. No one knows that story like you do. So take the advice, leave the advice. What is it? Rewrite, reject, reword, rephrase. We have a lot. We have 4 R's. We have a banner for that later. So we'll get into that a little bit later. If you're watching this live, please do add your questions in the comments and we will get to as many as we can during the show. If you're watching it recorded, feel free to still leave a comment, but definitely take advantage of that little blue bubble in the right corner of the application itself. And our wonderful support team is always there to help you with any questions that you might have. I do want to say one thing. Showing versus telling, today's report is a paid report. So if you are a free forever user, then you don't, unfortunately, have access to this incredibly powerful report. So along with that slightly bad news, I actually have very good news, and that is if you've missed that window to do a 14-day trial of our professional level subscription, we're going to go ahead and open that window back up for you because you're attending this Deep Dive Live. So I've got a link. Now you won't be able to click on this, but I know that you all have your pens and or your keyboards handy. So go ahead and visit. I put too many. Let me just, wouldn't be live if everything went smooth. So here we go. www.autocrit.com/DDL for Deep Dive Live. Go ahead and make that capital at the end. I don't know if it matters. I forgot to ask the team that in advance, but if you missed your 72-hour window to take advantage of that $1 14-day professional subscription trial, you can still go get it today. Also, if you are a new member that hasn't set up your free forever account, you can jump straight into the pro trial by using this link as well. So everything that we're showing you today, even if you're not a full professional or elite level subscriber, you can still get access to this report because you're attending our deep dive live. So excellent. And we will put that back up later. But for now, let's get started with the real stuff. Whoops. And of course, let me get back in here. So showing versus telling. Gareth, I think you told me this. It is the first rule of writing, right? It's that level of importance. Would you agree with that?
It is a foundational bedrock. It is just beyond important.
Wow. So it's not the same as the first rule of Fight Club, because that would mean our show's over because we can't talk about it, right? So, okay. Oh, my jokes. I need to get out of this house. So get better jokes. I think that'll be my feedback for next time. I even wrote it down and it just flops a little. So let's talk about what is showing versus telling and how do we know the difference? How do we know when to do which? Is it always bad? I have lots of questions as always, and I know a lot of our viewers and a lot of our members have questions as well. So telling is, and I don't want to be, oh wow, I wonder what that's about. I don't know why there's a little weirdness in my top corner, but trying to define telling versus showing without using the words telling or showing is a little bit difficult. But telling to me is just stating something. It's an FYI, it's a memo, here is a piece of information that you need. It's very data driven, it's very just kind of cut and dry in my mind. Would you add anything to that, Gareth, do you think?
I could add it in ways to break it down that I was going to mention later, but I can do it now. It's essentially the difference between exposition and evocation, and we'll get to that difference shortly.
Oh, I love that. Because for me, I think the exposition, the just telling it and putting it out there versus the showing for me is very emotional. It's vibrant. It's getting you to feel it and experience it. So it's, to me, the difference between, okay, you can tell that top one is a bird and you get the point. It's a bird and there are blue letters on there. So it's a blue bird. That's very basic. But if I'm showing you that, then I'm talking about the fluffiness of his feathers, and I'm talking about the slender tail feathers, and I'm talking about how small his beak is, and I'm talking about the depth of color in the bird's feathers, and really having an experience that engages more of your senses and takes you on a little bit of a journey, if you will. So thinking about the experience you want your readers to have becomes one of those ways you can decide whether you should show or tell. Now, there it goes. How do you go from telling to showing? So we have 4 tips for you, and we'll be illustrating these as Gareth goes through the AutoCrit work. But number 1, I know everybody remembers last week's deep dive live around adverbs and how they kind of just prop up weaker words, especially weak verbs. So a great way to go from telling to showing is to use those really strong verbs. So instead of he walked, I think the exercise we did last week, we galloped, we sprinted, we strolled, we sauntered. So having those more strong, more descriptive verbs around your character's activity could actually really evoke some emotion and put you into that more showing space. The second one is using very specific nouns and really clear adjectives. So a great example of this that goes hand in hand with the third one, which is include sensory details. And I love this one because I definitely want some pie right now, and I have not had pie in a very long time because thank you, pandemic. But grandma baked a pie. Totally fine. Like, do you get the idea? Yes. Grandma baked a pie. That's what grandmas do. She's probably great at it, etc. But when you say it's a cinnamon apple pie with golden crust resting on the windowsill above the sink on a sunny day, while you're scooping the ice cream or American cheese, whichever your preference, that really uses a lot more sensory details. You can really smell that cinnamon apple. You can really see the clear blue sunny day, the clear adjectives and the very specific nouns to paint that picture, right? So that example kind of gives you both of those. The smells, the sounds, the visuals, the tastes, if you will, all the feels, that lends itself really well to sneak peek for next week, power words, right? And how you're using those power words to evoke a certain feeling within your book. We'll be talking about that next week. Same day, same time, same channel. So looking forward to that. Final tip on how to go from telling to showing is to use dialogue, right? So maybe it's mom was angry. Seems fair, especially in these days. Mom was angry, tired of homeschooling and having a job, and don't you walk out of here, mom yelled, using that dialogue to give her a voice and to let your readers experience that is a terrific way for them to fully understand the motivation, fully understand the experience that your character's having while still advancing the story by saying, don't you walk out of here. It really kind of sets the tone. So keeping in mind those 4 tips, let's do some examples. Everybody warmed up their pencils, right? And from our invite cover, that creepy house. The house is creepy. Gareth, by the way, is a horror writer. So I feel like he had so many photos available for that house. He's like, let's use this one or this one over here or this one. So did you hand select that, Gareth? Is that your actual house as a horror writer?
I wish.
Oh, wouldn't that be great? Very cool.
It would certainly be filled with inspiration.
Yes, right. Wouldn't it? So instead of just saying the house is creepy, everybody who's watching, what words would you use to describe that house, to paint that picture, to kind of bring that house to life?
And such a thing could also be just a single vision or something that, you're just trying to bring that out of the reader or make the reader feel uncomfortable with the very fact that they're standing in front of it. It doesn't have to be the house loomed, or it could be strange shadows moving across doors or something inside that seems to move just out of sight through a window. Just these kind of strange little things that aren't right.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's excellent. No wonder you're the... No. Oh, no. Well, and the house is in the corner of my screen, but I can't make it look any different. Shoot. I think of any creepy house. Yeah, I love this. The floorboards creaked, the wind's howling through the broken window pane. It's dismally cold and barren. Oh, these are fantastic. Windows were dark like depthless souls. Ooh, tendrils of... You guys are really good at this. So sorry you're not able to see the picture. Use your mental visions of a creepy house. So, oh, the ivy, good one. The Victorian manse. This is fantastic. So you're really seeing how, and I'm getting goosebumps from all these creepy words. The words, the house is creepy. Sure it is. Great. Like I'll have a sandwich. It doesn't make me feel anything, but the words around cobwebs and the hinges about to fall, the shutters about to fall off, that's really kind of evoking some feelings and taking me into a pretty dark place. And since that's dark, we're going to go on and do another one. Well, this is dark too. Why are these so... Did you write these, Gareth? Did you write these?
I had no hand in this bit.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so John was sad to see his girlfriend leave. First, we will take it as fact that John was sad to see his girlfriend leave. Maybe he was actually excited. We'll talk about internal dialogue and internal characterizations later. So John was sad to see his girlfriend leave. Maybe think about, how can you tell? How can your readers tell that John is sad to see his girlfriend leave? What do you think, Gareth?
Oh, there are multiple ways this could happen. It could be something he says. It could be body language.
I assume he's crawling on the floor and clinging to her leg like a toddler at preschool, like just wailing. No?
I guess that depends on the story.
What does a sad man do? Who knows? Oh, John lowered his head onto his chest in despair, blinking away the tears. Oh, these are fantastic. So absolutely, his body language, his facial expressions, the fact that he's blinking away tears. Oh, the girlfriend slammed the door behind her. Well, maybe John is sad to see her leave because he did something that he shouldn't have done. So you can see, though. Yeah, go ahead.
Going a little deeper into this one as well. This is an ideal kind of scenario just to give yourself, if you're character planning and things like that, because the way that a character such as John could react to a situation like this tells you a lot about his character. So does he get angry? Does he try to not give away that he's very upset about this situation, and he just kind of chokes back and says goodbye and then reacts poorly when she's gone? You know, these little things can tell you a lot about a person without actually having to tell. These are the little compound ways you can show a lot in very, very few words.
Ooh, I love that. And you touched on something that is coming right up. Does telling have no place in writing? Well, no, we're not saying it has no place in writing. Sometimes you just got to tell it like it is. So a few different places you may want to actually tell instead of show. When you need to be brief, when you really just want to get some facts over to your readers, when you need to speed up time. Can you imagine if you're reading a book that says, instead of the war lasted 6 years, that book takes you through every skirmish and every battle in a war that lasts 6 years. That book is going to be this long. No one's going to read it. Well, I wouldn't say no one, but it's not, unless the whole book is supposed to be about the war that lasted 6 years. If you need to speed up time, maybe think about doing some telling. It's also great for internal narrative, which we have an example of coming up next. But you can also see here the difference with telling and showing. The showing is vivid and detailed and emotional, and it really slows down time. There's a fantastic example of this. Lee Child, in one of his many, many Jack Reacher novels, spent, I think it was 246 words showing a bullet coming from a gun. Instead of just saying, Jack Reacher shot his gun, Lee Child made the very bold decision to spend 246 words describing in detail. And you can just envision yourself, that was like 1/100 of 1 second in real life. and how much did it slow you down, and how much impact did you really cause there, instead of just saying he fired his gun. You're really giving a lot of details. You're setting some suspense in there. You're setting a real focus on the importance of that event. And Gareth also will be showing you some examples of how to employ tactics like that when we hand this over to him. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that internal narrative. That's really giving your readers a chance to walk around inside your character's head. And that's really the best part. That is true escapism. That is really getting them emotionally engaged and inside of your story. So if you don't have a clear, detailed internal narrative, then how will your reader ever know how your character is actually feeling? So in the guy who's sad because his girlfriend is leaving, Gareth pointed out, is he sad? I mean, you say he's sad, so yes, we're getting that. But is there a way that you can misinterpret his actions? He hung his head. Well, maybe he was ashamed because he didn't understand something, or he did something wrong. So let's do a quick example of that. This is a show. He shoved back his chair and slammed his fist against the table. So Gareth, reading that, what would you think this fella is feeling?
I think he's in a really good mood.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, that might be the competition in your segment to guess your heritage. But I feel like that's something maybe native to your land, but perhaps not so.
Strange behavior. Strange behavior.
It might be. So extra points for whomever can nail where Gareth's accent comes from. So yes, he shoved back his chair and slammed his fist against the table. Could be, he didn't get the promotion, so he's angry. Yep. Yeah, okay, sure. Is he really angry, or maybe he's scared? Maybe he's secretly thrilled, but he's trying to make other people in that room believe that he's angry. Maybe he's the investigating detective and he's playing bad cop. So he wants to act like he's really aggressive and he's angry, but he's completely just playing a role. So, oops, oh my goodness. Well, that was my last slide anyway. So see if I can get that back for us. So having we'll just go big screen. We don't need that. We'll just go big screen. Go big or go home. Go big while you're at home. How about that? So having that internal narrative to really say, he slammed his fist against the table to indicate that to indicate that he's trying to be angry, or he's playing the bad cop, or he solved a hard problem and slams his desk in happiness, right? Maybe that's a celebratory, like, yeah, got it. Yes. Like that absolutely could be the thing. So having the ability to tell, because your readers are not going to know about this internal narrative unless you tell them, having the ability to really tell that that story, that feeling, give them that emotion directly is the only way they're going to know. Otherwise, they're going to make their own interpretations, and sometimes you want them to, and sometimes you don't. What we want to do right now, though, is hand it over to Gareth and let him show us where in AutoCrit we can find this report, show us some examples, and walk us through some of the highlights that AutoCrit will show you, make some of those suggestions, and then how we can make creative decisions based on that to rework it or not. I will go ahead and pull Gareth's screen in. I'm going to hide us so you can see the application. All right.
Okay, everyone. I will pop to the correct window. So I will try to speak through this a little slower than I normally do. Again, as Beth said, bonus points to anyone who can guess where my accent is from. At the moment, I've loaded in our sample text. You might be, I've seen this quite a lot in AutoCrit. It's the metamorphosis, so because it's public domain and easy to use. So inside the AutoCrit application, I've loaded up the strong writing tab, which is where we have our showing versus telling report. And I have run a full report on metamorphosis. One thing to look at in terms of the AutoCrit reports is if we hit view summary, just up at the top here, you can actually see that compared to general fiction, which is what I have chosen right now, the metamorphosis has slightly above average use of these showing versus telling indicators. And if we scroll down, we can see which words that are tied to this that we can detect the most of. The red ones are overused. That's what is contributing to the above average. Now, looking at some of these words, I think the first thing that comes into many people's heads is that is fairly innocuous language. Words like it, or there, or could, or get, these are very standard words and common words in the English language. But where this selection comes from is actually based on the AutoCrit research into millions of published books across a huge range of genres. So this is all crunched together and using AI determines that these particular words are usually found in places where an author would be showing versus telling. So that's really all it is. That does not mean that every single instance is going to be 100% correct, and you are definitely telling, not showing in that situation. So you do have to keep your own wits about you as you go through. The words to look out for are normally going to be verbs. And one that I particularly like for demonstrating showing versus telling is felt, because you can often say that somebody felt something brush against his leg, or they felt bad about this, when there are hundreds of ways you could show that instead. So let's take a look here. If we click on felt in our sidebar.
So speaking of that sidebar, did you guys out there who are watching this live stream know that you can collapse that summary on the sidebar and give yourself more working space? I just love that feature. So I always try to point it out. It's just such a helpful.
And
it is the little things like we were talking earlier.
If, like me as well, you want to focus on single words, you can even, let's say we're doing a pass here and we're only wanting to look at felt, because I know for a fact that I use that too much in terms of telling, not showing, then I can remove all the highlights or show them all and pick the individual words that I want to follow. That's a very good way to do your editing passes in AutoCrit, I find anyway, is take it word by word so that you really have laser focus on one issue before you tackle another.
I really like that. It shows in this example, felt right there 3 times. And that's pretty uncommon, I would think. Yeah.
We have quite a number of uses here. So let's look at it from an author perspective. If we see this first selection here, so we end with gave up only when he began to feel a light, dull pain in his side, which he had never felt before. Now, there's, to my mind, a decent amount of telling going on there. There's 2 bits of information that we've been given. The first is there's a pain in his side, and that he has never felt that kind of pain before. So this is a totally new experience to him. If we were writing that, or if I were writing that and I thought, hey, I want to switch that, I see the word felt and I think I should switch that from more from a tell to more of a show, then I might have the character wince or double over, or in some way give an indication that he's in pain. But I think if you look further on, Kafka in the next paragraph starts with a bit of language there that gives the idea that this guy is not waking up in a good situation and isn't happy with what's going on. So you kind of get the points there. That's comes across as perfectly fine to me. The next one if we skip down a little bit further, here's one again, but he retracted it immediately, for the contact felt like a cold shower all over him. That, to me, is evocative enough if you were writing that, because even just reading felt like a cold shower all over him. You immediately feel some kind of sympathy for that sensation of stepping into a cold shower and how shocking that might be to you. So that is perfectly fine. Again, it all goes back to that thing that I said in the beginning, which is evocation over exposition. And I think there's a great quote which is paraphrased, I believe, from Anton Chekhov, where he said, "Don't tell me the moon is shining, show me the glint of light on broken glass." It's things like that. Just give me sensations, give me sights, sounds, familiar feelings, things that I can sympathize or empathize with from my own experience, to show me these things that are happening. Don't just say, "Oh, he's really angry," or "that hurt a lot." Speaking of hurting, we'll get to another one in a moment. But any questions over there, Beth? Or
well, one question that I thought was really interesting is someone was in a different tool and had used a description of a piece of jewelry laying on black felt, and was curious if AutoCrit would be able to detect that level of difference. And I don't think so, but I wanted to see if you or any of our team out there would know the answer to that.
It would not, because it is simply based on the word itself,
rather than
getting too much into context.
Okay, so it is looking for those specific indicative words around felt and noticed and notice and taste and okay.
Yeah, within the application, the context of what's being searched for is based on the report, because that's the specific context that the researchers put the words within, but the words themselves are still the words. So felt is still felt.
Also, as a jewelry lover, I would put my jewelry on velvet. Maybe that's just let's reword. And speaking of that first sentence that you went through, it really kind of underscores the fact that as an AutoCrit user, you're still in control. So you can make the decision that you don't want to replace, remove, or reword it. You want to reject that advice and move on, because it fits well. It goes with the pace of your story. It goes with the vibe that you're trying to convey. So I love that was a reject.
Exactly. I mean, that's kind of the top 5 in our whole mission statement anyway, is, AutoCrit is not there to tell you how to write your book, or indeed write it for you or anything. You are in control. But this is all just what we've discovered in the research, and we try to put that into as much good context as we can for you, in terms of, building the profiles of individual authors that you might want to try writing like, and it's just all about that. But ultimately, you're in control. We don't want to take any of that away from you, and you are perfectly capable of saying, "No, I like that, and I'm not going to change it."
Fantastic.
And so one last example I just want to show, because I came across this while I was looking through the metamorphosis as well. So we have the violent pain he felt revealed to him that the lower part of his body was at the moment probably the most sensitive. Straight up tell. And honestly, that's fine. If anyone out there watching has not read the metamorphosis, Gregor Hamsa basically wakes up turned into a giant cockroach, and a particularly sensitive one. So in the beginning here, the pain he felt revealed to him, because this is after he has smacked his foot on the lower bedpost. So if I were reading this, I would probably rewrite that. What could we think? Of course, I think anyone out there in the comments, if you want to give your own kind of go, I would probably do something like Gregor held back a scream.
I'm not sure we're converting any of our viewers out there to huge Kafka or Metamorphosis fans.
So just as a quick little edit, something like that. So this is where everything happens through a show, and we remove that tell, is that he chose his direction incorrectly and he hit the lower bedpost hard. Gregor held back a scream as lightning shot through his nerves, revealing to him that the lower part of his body was at the moment probably the most sensitive. So we get a full thing there. We tried to, of course, I'm sure it could be written better by many other people, but we tried to give the reader a reason to grit their teeth and kind of think, oh, that must have hurt, rather than saying, hey, there's a lot of pain here. So it's basically that's the concept to run with.
Yes.
Well, of course, at this point, don't get me wrong, everybody out there and the hardcore Kafka fans, I don't think anybody's going to sit here and claim that the Metamorphosis isn't, a perfectly good story just the way it is. This is just an exercise that we can use to bring these things to light and bring in that whole idea. So are you just straight up giving details about people, things, and settings, or are you using more intricate description and sensory input to evoke the feeling that you want the reader to have of that thing? And that's it. So really just to get you in the mindset that when you're using AutoCrit and you come across one of these red marks, you think, oh, maybe that could be changed. Or maybe not. That's your choice to make.
Yeah, definitely. So everything that AutoCrit is showing you, definitely still suggestions, not based on our analysis and comparison of thousands and thousands of published works. So having that level of benchmarking still allows you to make informed decisions, let's say. And then having that still support your voice and your vision for your masterpiece. So, Kafka didn't have AutoCrit. Poor guy.
Poor guy indeed. It must have been very painful.
Right? Exactly. That idea sends lightnings of pain through my nerves, and so. Oh, that is awesome. Thank you, Gareth. I think those examples really are compelling and underscore the fact that, always with AutoCrit, you're still in control, but there are ways to make your writing perhaps more engaging or more compelling, or to vary up the feelings and emotions that you're portraying to your reader, and making it a really enjoyable experience, not just for you, the author, but for your hundreds of thousands and millions of readers out there. That is all we have for today. That brings us to the end of this edition of Deep Dive Live. I am going to put back up the banner for anyone who may have missed it for that pro trial. So this is a 14-day trial for just $1 that unlocks all of the 20 plus reports within AutoCrit. It unlocks all the genre and all the author comparisons. So instead of just being able to compare to general fiction or one of our 2 generalized nonfiction selections, you can now, with this $1 trial, with a pro account, or if you decide to go elite with us, you can compare to just dozens of genres and dozens of individual authors as well. So there's the link for that, autocrit.com/DDL for Deep Dive Live. And I have a call to action for you guys, a challenge, if you will. Go run your work, your latest work in progress, through the showing versus telling reports, and select a section, even if you don't leave it this way, but just get some practice making it a show and not a tell. Right? Give it another read, give it another rework, go find a section, look at the AutoCrit recommendations to help you pick one of those sections, and use those 4 tips from earlier to move your writing from a show to a tell. I think all this practice will just make everyone a better writer. Oh, and I did forget. Excellent. Oh gosh, I'm seeing so many comments right now. Gareth?
Yes?
We had a lot of really good guesses, and we had some that were quite close. Would you like to reveal where you're from?
Based on a couple of comments that I saw coming up there, yes, the the mention of Kafka's translator is an excellent one every time because, yeah, I guess it's been translated so many ways that you never know whether that was his intention or not. But I am from Northern Ireland. So those who guessed Ireland, very close.
Very close. I did see Catherine come through as the first one to say in particular Northern Ireland. So I am going to
have one?
Yeah, Catherine, I missed her last name and she scrolled right on by, and I want to protect her anonymity, but Catherine did say Northern Ireland. So 5 points to Gryffindor or whatever.
You win.
Yeah. You win. Yay. We're saying your name on the internet. Yay. Fantastic. Well, excellent. Everyone, thank you so much. Thanks for the great audience participation. Thank you, Gareth, for walking us through those examples. And we will see you back here next week on the 19th at 1 p.m. Eastern for our next Deep Dive Live featuring power words. So stay tuned.
Thank you very much, everyone. It's been a pleasure.
Bye.